Why do even your closest friends betray you? Think about it for a moment. Someone who laughed with you, who shared your secrets, who swore they'd always stand by your side, one day, you find them turning away, leaving you in your most vulnerable moment. It hurts, doesn't it? That sinking feeling in your chest when you realize the person you trusted the most is no longer on your side. The nights you stayed awake, replaying conversations, asking yourself, where did it go wrong? Was it me? Was it them? Or was the friendship never real in the first place? The painful reality is this: most people don't truly care about you for who you are. They care about what they get from you. And when that benefit disappears, when you can no longer give them what they want, their loyalty vanishes with it. Isn't it strange? We live in a world where the word friendship is celebrated in movies, songs, and social media posts, yet when life tests that bond, most so-called friends quietly step back, leaving you to deal with your battles alone. And here's the part that stings even more. Betrayal rarely comes from your enemies. You expect your enemies to oppose you, to dislike you, maybe even to work against you. But betrayal, it almost always comes from those closest to your heart. The dagger that hurts the most is the one slipped into your back by the hand you trusted. This isn't just my opinion. Over 500 years ago, the Italian thinker Machiavelli revealed a brutal truth about human nature. And strangely enough, even today, it feels like he's speaking directly about our lives, our friendships, and the betrayals we face. You see, betrayal is not a new phenomenon. It is as old as human relationships themselves. From ancient kings losing their crowns because of trusted allies, to emperors being overthrown by their own guards, to ordinary people like you and me discovering that a friend's loyalty was only as deep as their convenience, betrayal has been humanity's shadow since the beginning of time. But let's bring it closer. Have you ever noticed how friendships seem to shift depending on circumstances? A friend who is always around when you're successful, when you're generous, when you're the one helping him, suddenly goes silent the moment you need something. Or maybe you've been in a tough spot, lost a job, gone through a breakup, struggled with finances, and suddenly, the people who promised they'd be there, no matter what, stopped showing up. Their calls became fewer, their smiles felt forced, the connection faded. That's betrayal too, not always loud and dramatic, but quiet, slow, and just as painful. And if you've ever asked yourself, why me? Why did my closest friend turn away? You're not alone. Every human being, at some point in their life, has tasted betrayal. It may come from a childhood friend who chose popularity over loyalty. It may come from a colleague who used your trust to climb higher. It may come from a partner who promised eternity but walked away when times grew hard. Betrayal is universal. And it cuts deeper than most wounds because it doesn't just break trust. It shakes your very belief in people. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand why betrayal happens, you'll also learn how to protect yourself from it and come out stronger than before. But before we go further, pause and think, when was the last time you felt betrayed? Maybe it was something small, a friend gossiping behind your back. Or maybe it was life-altering, a loved one choosing themselves over you when you needed them the most. That memory you're holding right now is proof that this conversation isn't just philosophy. It's life. And here's something to reflect on. Betrayal hurts so much because it comes wrapped in love, in friendship, in trust. If someone you barely knew ignored you, would it really matter? Probably not. But when the wound is inflicted by someone you held close, the pain doubles. It's not just the act of betrayal, it's the shattering of an illusion. The illusion that loyalty is guaranteed. The illusion that closeness automatically means faithfulness. This video is not about turning you bitter or making you paranoid about every relationship you have. No, it's about opening your eyes to a truth that thinkers like Machiavelli, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius discovered centuries ago. People are often loyal not to you, but to their need for you. Once that need fades, their loyalty fades too. And understanding this truth is the first step to building real strength, resilience, and wisdom. So, as we dive deeper, I want you to keep one thing in mind: betrayal is not the exception. It's part of the human condition. The sooner you accept this, the less it destroys you. And when you finally see betrayal not as a personal failure, but as a reflection of human self-interest, you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I learn? How do I grow stronger?" Because betrayal, as painful as it is, can also become your greatest teacher. But is betrayal really about evil people? Or is it simply about human nature itself? To answer this, we turn to the man who studied betrayal more than anyone. Let me introduce you to Machiavelli, a man who lived during the turbulent politics of Renaissance Italy. He wrote The Prince, a book that many still read today for its sharp insights into power, politics, and people. Now, imagine Florence in the 1500s, a city of art, wealth, and culture, but also a city dripping with intrigue, shifting alliances, and sudden betrayals. Families that smiled together at banquets were secretly plotting each other's downfall the very next morning. In that world, Machiavelli was not just a writer, he was a witness. He observed human beings at their most raw, their most desperate, their most selfish. He watched how loyalty lasted only until opportunity knocked louder. He saw friends turn on friends, allies turn into enemies, and trusted companions switch sides overnight. And from this world, he gave us one of his most unsettling observations: men forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of their inheritance. What does that mean? Simply this: people forgive emotional pain more easily than financial loss or the loss of power. In other words, if you hurt their interests, if you touch their money or their position, they will never forgive you. A son may cry over his father's death and eventually heal, but if you take away his inheritance, his wealth, or his influence, he will carry that wound for life. Think about that for a second. It sounds cruel, doesn't it? But if you look closely at the world around you, you'll see examples everywhere. Brothers fighting over property, lifelong friends breaking ties over business deals, families torn apart not by grief, but by money. Machiavelli wasn't inventing this idea. He was simply pointing at a truth most of us refuse to admit. Machiavelli was not trying to depress us. He was documenting human behavior as he saw it in courts, in friendships, and in power struggles. He realized something we often refuse to accept: self-interest almost always wins over loyalty. And that is why betrayal isn't unusual, it's expected. But Machiavelli wasn't alone in thinking this way. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer." Why does this matter? Because it reminds us that people often act not from pure loyalty, but from a calculation. Even kindness can carry hidden self-interest. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, took it further. In his meditations, he reminded himself every morning, "Today you will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they don't know good from evil." Imagine starting every day preparing yourself to be betrayed, to be disappointed, to be let down, and yet still choosing to remain calm and strong. That was Marcus's way of protecting himself, not expecting loyalty, but expecting reality. Then comes Nietzsche, centuries later. He spoke of human relationships in terms of power and will. Nietzsche believed that people are often driven by a will to power, a desire to assert themselves, even at the cost of others. In his eyes, betrayal was not an accident. It was a consequence of human beings striving to put their own survival, their own dominance, above loyalty to anyone else. And finally, Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism. He believed that most human interactions are guided by egoism. A person may act kind or loyal, but deep down, they are seeking to fulfill their own desires. In Schopenhauer's bleak view, friendship itself was often a mask for self-interest. He once said, "Almost all our sorrows spring out of our relations with other people." That's a chilling thought, isn't it? That the very relationships we cherish may also be the root of our deepest pain. Now, why am I weaving all these voices together? Because betrayal is not just a personal wound you and I experience. It is a universal theme, studied by the greatest thinkers across history. Machiavelli showed us that people guard their wealth and power more fiercely than their relationships. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius prepared us for disappointment by urging us to lower our expectations. Nietzsche revealed that self-assertion often outweighs loyalty, and Schopenhauer reminded us that sorrow often walks hand in hand with human connection. All of them, in different ways, are pointing to the same uncomfortable truth. Betrayal is not an exception to human nature. It is part of human nature. But here's the twist. Each of these philosophers, despite their cynicism or realism, was not asking us to give up on life or relationships. Instead, they were urging us to open our eyes, to see people as they are, not as we wish them to be, to recognize that self-interest drives most actions, and to use that knowledge not to become bitter, but to become wiser. And that's exactly what we're going to do as we go deeper. Because if Machiavelli was right, if Marcus Aurelius was right, then the question becomes, how do we live in a world where betrayal is natural? Do we build walls? Do we stop trusting entirely? Or is there a smarter way? Stay with me, because the answer lies not just in philosophy, but in how we connect these ancient truths to the everyday betrayals we face in modern life. Now, let me put it simply. People wear masks. Behind the smiles, behind the hugs, there's a quiet calculation happening. Most people, even without realizing it, are asking themselves, what do I gain by being close to this person? What do I lose? And the moment that gain disappears, maybe you can't offer the same help, maybe your influence fades, maybe you're no longer useful to their ambitions, loyalty fades with it. Friendship, at times, is like a business deal without a contract. As long as both sides are benefiting, it looks genuine. But the moment one side feels shortchanged, betrayal enters. That's why when betrayal comes, we're always shocked. But should we really be shocked if this is how people are wired? Think about it. Picture the office environment. Two colleagues eat lunch together, laugh together, exchange compliments. They seem inseparable, but the moment one gets the promotion the other wanted, the atmosphere shifts. The smile becomes forced. The friendship cools. Why? Because the calculation has changed. As long as there was mutual gain, companionship, sharing work struggles, the friendship thrived. But when self-interest collided with loyalty, self-interest won. Even in families, this truth quietly plays out. Siblings might appear deeply bonded, but as soon as inheritance or parental approval comes into play, conflicts erupt. Suddenly, childhood memories of playing together are drowned by courtroom battles over property. Isn't it strange that blood ties, which we assume are unbreakable, can fracture so quickly over material interests? That's why philosophers like Machiavelli pointed to this reality not as an insult to humanity, but as a mirror. He wanted us to see what was always there, hidden beneath the surface. People often forgive wounds to the heart, but they never forgive wounds to their self-interest. Let's take another analogy. Imagine a tree in a garden. When the tree is full of fruits, people come from all around to sit in its shade, to enjoy its bounty. They praise the tree, they protect it, they claim it as their own. But the moment the fruits are gone, the shade is less inviting, the branches are bare, suddenly no one comes. The tree hasn't changed. It is still standing tall, still giving oxygen, still alive. But the interest that drew people there has vanished, and with it, their so-called loyalty. That tree is you. That tree is me. That tree is anyone who has ever given, and later discovered that giving was the only reason people stayed. And yet, we keep being surprised. We keep asking, why did my friend turn away? Or, why didn't they stand by me? But should we really be shocked? If human nature is wired to prioritize survival, gain, and advantage, then loyalty, in most cases, will only last as long as interest does. Of course, this doesn't mean every relationship is false. No, there are rare souls who stay even when the fruit is gone, even when the power fades, even when there's nothing to gain. And those rare souls are worth more than gold. But the only way to recognize them is to first accept that most others are not like them. This is why Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, trained himself every morning to expect disappointment from others. By lowering his expectations, he avoided shock. Betrayal hurt less because he anticipated it. And when someone did show genuine loyalty, it became a gift rather than an assumption. So here's the truth in plain language. Loyalty, in most cases, is conditional. It's not that people are consciously evil or malicious. It's that most of us are wired to protect our own needs first. Think about it. If a ship is sinking, who do people save first? Themselves. If a fire breaks out, who do they rush to protect first? Themselves. Loyalty is real, but it is rare, and it is fragile. And perhaps the greatest mistake we make is assuming that closeness equals loyalty. Just because someone spends time with you, shares laughter with you, or even says, "I'll always be there," doesn't mean they will. Words are cheap. Actions are the real test. So next time betrayal shocks you, pause and remind yourself, this is not unusual. It is the way many relationships are structured beneath the surface. The calculation was always there, even if you didn't see it. And the sooner you accept this, the stronger you become. Because here's the paradox. When you stop expecting loyalty, you actually begin to see clearly who truly cares. When you stop assuming everyone will stay, you start valuing the few who do. And that clarity, that wisdom, is the gift hidden in betrayal. But philosophy alone isn't enough. How does this play out in our lives today, at work, in friendships, in relationships, even online? Let's bring this to your world today. At the workplace, colleagues who share laughs at lunch may quietly compete when promotion season arrives. The same person who once encouraged you might now highlight your mistakes to the boss or pull away to protect themselves. Why? Because your success threatens their interest. The warmth wasn't fake at the time, but it wasn't loyalty either. It was proximity born of mutual benefit. The moment competition entered, self-interest overpowered connection. Or think of a friend. Maybe you had one in school or college who was always around, always chatting, until you stopped sharing your notes or lending them money.